We've recorded some awesome bonus content for you for the Summer 18 release, and today we're going to be focused on Einstein Analytics. Our product managers are going to be here to cover all the latest and greatest features, and they'll be covering some roadmap. So let us remind you that we will be making some forward-looking statements, so please make your purchasing decisions based on what's currently available in the product. And with that, let's meet our product managers.
Thank you, Ayuri. This is Radha. I'm going to demo you analytics templates today.
Hi, this is Danny Lai, and I'm going to be showing you data exploration using the Dashboard Designer and the Data Explorer.
I'm Justin Kim. I'm going to be showing you the Data Manager.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Ray, and I'm going to be taking you through some new features in Einstein Discovery.
All right, analytics templates. Let me quickly jump you to the demo. One template that I want to show you today, which has been mostly requested by customers today, is Analytics Adoption app. Let me walk you through this app. Here you have the Analytics Adoption in your org. Up top, you have 6 filters that are coming in from user object. Some of the common filters that most customers use, such as user, department, division, and etc. Here, you're going to see the 7% adoption. What does it mean? It means 7% of your users who have analytics platform license have at least had one interaction with analytics assets in the last X number of days. And on your right, you can see the repository of objects, analytics assets in your org, such as apps, dashboards, and lenses, and how many of them have been in use in the last X number of days. And here, you can see the trends of asset views by day. And here you can see monthly active users, which is nothing but number of active users in the last 30 days within your org. Daily active users, how many active users have been actively using your analytics assets. As I scroll down, you can actually see your most popular assets in your org by dashboards, lenses, and apps. Think of it as your wall of shame. And at the bottom, you can actually see the wall of shame, which is nothing but people who are not interacting with your analytics assets. And of course, some of them are also about assets that are not being accessed in the last X number of days. And let me walk you through the second dashboard that is included in this adoption usage. This dashboard gives you all the data sets that are available in your org and what types of assets that each of these dashboards are powering. For example, I click on this and it's going to tell you this particular dashboard is powering this app and 3 dashboards. And of course, it also gives you the number of rows in your org. Now, let me show you how you can create this app. You're going to click Create App, and then you're going to choose Adoption Analytics Template. Good news. Right now, with this app, you can actually retain your number of logs, the logs that you can retain up to 365 days. That's all you have to do. Name your app. That's it. Let me show you another industry template that is coming up in this summer of 18. So this one is for financial advisor. So what do they care about? They care about how much AUM they are managing, how much is held away, and what is their wallet share, and of course, what are the total assets that are under their management. So using this dashboard, they can actually slice and dice by, for example, market category, segment, and other things such as account status. Keep in mind, on your left, you can still maintain your financial services business context and then navigate through other CRM data. For example, they can go into client interactions and align their business activities with their client goals. For example, they can actually see here what kind of types of activities and how they are engaging with their clients. And of course, they can even see, are they focusing their efforts on their active clients or prospects, or they want to focus on their most important clients. And of course, they can also, using this dashboard, they can look at their opportunity management. For example, they can slice and dice by category, and then they can even look at their pipeline by stages. And of course, they want to align, focus their efforts on the most important clients, and if there are any open cases that they need to resolve before they can engage them in a meaningful way. For example, they can even take a look at their marketing programs and then see how many of them are assigned to each of those campaigns. How can they assign additional clients to any other campaign? So this is available for you in summer of 18. This is taking advantage of the industry data model that is given by Financial Services Cloud.
That's awesome. For the adoption analytics, I'm curious, is that something that you have to purchase an add-on to access? Like, how do users get access to that?
No, Ayuri, that's a great question. So all the Einstein Analytics platforms can take advantage of this out of box coming from Summer. All right, now let me move on to one of the line of business templates that we are building, we are providing this summer. So this is called Coding Analytics. This is going to be based on Salesforce CPQ, which is nothing but SteelBrick data model. So let me show you how you can take advantage of this template. So I click on Create App. You have a template for Coding Analytics. I click Continue. So it's going to do all the org checks and necessary steps for you to scan your org and then prepare the data for you. Looks good. Next, and then you name your app, and that's it. While this is getting created, let me show you the app. It comes with two dashboards and of course a pre-built data flow and few data sets. So here we are looking at quote effectiveness dashboard. So what it is doing is you can actually look at the number of quotes distributed by status, and of course you can slice and dice by account, region, product, SKU, and owner. And up down, you can actually look at the number of quotes that are being created by each of your sales rep. And of course, you can also see the comparison between the list price versus the customer specific price. And you can also see the trend of the unit price by SKU in all the slice and dice that you can have. And let me also show you another dashboard that's called quote efficiency. You can actually look at the quote to close ratio, which is nothing but how many quotes are getting created before the opportunity is closed. And of course, you can also look at the number of days it is taking to approve each of those quotes, and then you can automate some of these processes or identify any roadblocks that you may have in your approval process. And of course, you can also look at by rep and how much time it is taking for approving those quotes. That ends my CPQ template. So let me show you one more template that is coming up as part of advanced analytics or productivity templates. This is called Change Analytics. So once again, let me show you how you can take advantage of this templated app. Like always, you have a template. All analytics platform customers can take advantage of this template. This basically gives you three things. Change volume, basically you can understand which fields change most in your selected object. So the only prerequisite for this app is you can only do this on the objects where you turned on field level security. And of course, you can also look at the most common changes within the fields in those objects and also trends in the field changes. And then you just click continue and then name your app. That's all you have to do. So let me show you how I built an app based on the lead object. So here you can see the leads and then of course a breakdown by the status and of course the changes and in the form of a Sankey chart. Like any other analytics dashboards, you can even navigate to the detail table right from here. So that ends my templates. Back to you, Danny.
Fantastic, great. Thank you so much, Retta. What we just saw was this was a fantastic release for the apps team. This is some amazing out-of-the-box, completely packaged apps, configured only using clicks. What I wanted to cover now for the Summer 18 release is how a dashboard admin can now leverage some new tooling and some new features to create these rich sets of visualizations and have conversations with their data before they assemble them on their dashboards. So what I'd like to cover today is the experience you would have when you're designing a dashboard or when you're exploring your data using some of our new features in Summer 18. Now, my two favorite ones are listed at the top. So conversational queries, still in beta, and of course, conditional formatting, my favorite, providing a rich set of colors for all of your tables, your charts, and your KPIs. But we also delivered a Pages GA with support for up to 20 pages now and an out-of-the-box page navigation widget. We're also leveraging shared views across more of the applications. So you know, the last couple of releases, we gave the end user a way to personalize their dashboards by allowing them to create shared personal views. When they create annotations and notifications and do their custom slicing and dicing, all of that now gets saved in those views as well. So when they pull up those notifications, all of them appear instantly without having to do any additional slicing and dicing. We've done some unification for our date filters, so you'll see an increased functionality across the board, whether you're using global date filters or individual date range widgets. We've reorganized the charting menu, added a lot of bells and whistles around table display, being able to crop maps and set legend order to be reverse. And we've also, probably my favorite feature that nobody knows about is we provided additional enhancements to our existing UI for customizing the data sets. So what I like to do now is to jump into a demo so we can see some of these great features in action for Summer 18. Okay, the first thing I like to cover is conversational queries. This is definitely one of my favorite features, a very powerful one. It's multiple releases in the making. It's still in beta, but it's definitely made some leaps and strides, and we think it's pretty much almost ready for prime time in the next couple of releases. And what I wanted to make you aware of is that any organization can turn this on for all of their users. If you go to the Analytics Settings tab, you'll see the ability to enable conversational exploration. So once this is checked, then the experience that all of your users are going to get is that when they now go and to explore a data set, here I am exploring my opportunities data set, you'll see pretty much a way for me to type in a natural language query and have Einstein Analytics process it and come up with the right query to produce these results. Now, this has been around for a couple releases, and before, we had to be pretty structured in the way we actually typed it in. We had to type in all of the various components, what measures, what dimensions, what groupings. But over the last couple of releases, we've made the language a lot more flexible. So the idea is you no longer have to, for instance, describe a measure. So if I just wanted to show me some industries, and I just wanted to see what all my industries are, the system automatically defaults to the count of rows, allows me to slice and dice based on this particular dimension. I've now also got the flexibility to be able to group and slice by more than one dimension. So if I now also wanted to take a look at account type, I can do that. Wasn't possible before. We're adding more and more flexibility to our natural language processing engine so you can have these types of conversations with your data. And one thing I also wanted to point out is that once you type in one of these queries and the system provides you the data, we've also fully integrated with the existing suggested charts capabilities. So I've got the query I want. I can now directly hook into Einstein suggested charts. It knows that what I've typed in is related to geography. I've got some suggestions on perhaps using a map to show this data. So again, my natural language querying is now also tied directly into Einstein map recommendations. So perhaps the most powerful part of the enhancements that we made here is the ability to provide the flexibility for more targeted filtering. So the idea is I could start off with a query. Let me do that first. Top 10 deals by stage, and this is great. But if I now want to hone in and filter out particular account types or filter out particular line items, I can now do that with type ahead search and the ability to specify multiple values here. So you can see that I can now do filtering by, in this case, account type. If I was filtering by states or regions, I can specify multiple values here, and Einstein can naturally translate that to the right query for visualization. So again, I wanted to call out that this feature is still in beta, but we've made some significant strides, and we hope to be GA in an upcoming release or two. The next big feature I wanted to demo is conditional formatting. And this, I think, has been a long time in waiting. We've gotten a lot of great feedback and a lot of great suggestions on how to do this feature. And what I want to do is to show you how this feature is used in the product. So this is an example of a pretty awesome dashboard, lots of color, lots of conditional formatting. This can be done using existing functionality. But this required a lot of custom code before Summer 18. And what I want to show you is how you can create something like this now using our conditional formatting UI. So here we've got a lot of formatting around KPIs, around charts, and around tables. What I'm going to do now is to take a particular KPI that doesn't have conditional formatting and show you how easy it is to define a conditional formatting rule. So I'm looking at the widget property for this particular number, and I've got a new section now called conditional formatting. I can create a rule based off the value and specify that, let's say if it falls below 10,000, I want to make it red. So if I do that, I define this conditional formatting rule, and I've created this rule specifically for this number widget. So that now I see it's still white as before based on its value, but as I start doing my slicing and dicing, and this number ever drops below 10,000, you can see that the text color automatically changes. And this is, again, done within a matter of clicks instead of having to do custom code. And what's really great about conditional formatting is that whether you're doing data exploration or designing an actual dashboard, it's fully integrated across both user flows. So what I'm going to do now is to do some exploration. So I'm in the Explorer now, where I've got a very simple query showing a few measures, grouping by account source. And I want to show you how I can now conditional format this particular visualization. As before, the panel here, the formatting panel is on the right. And what you see starting in Summer 18 is that there's this new section called conditional formatting. And for this particular chart, I have a variety of different ways on how I can conditionally format this particular chart. By default, I've got 3 different colors for 3 different measures. I have the ability to customize these colors. Instead of blue, red, and orange, if I wanted to use different shades of gray for each one of my different measures, I can do that just by choosing these different colors from the color palette. And you can see to really show the effect, we've reorganized the color palette now to give you the full spectrum of colors instead of just the 3 colors that you were used to before. So I can color by measures. I can obviously color by a particular measure. So if I wanted to have all of the colors based off of the average of opportunity age, for instance, I can do that, set a bin, maybe set a threshold of 500, and you can see that any bars whose age is less than 500 is now red. All via a series of clicks. One of my favorite features is basically around dimensions. So this is particularly useful. In this case, we're talking about account sources. This could be useful if you're talking about trying to make a particular competitor's name pop or make a particular region or sales rep's data pop. The idea is that I can now choose specific colors for specific values of this account source. I see here I've got about 7 or 8 sources. Perhaps I want advertisement to be the one that really stands out. So I'll choose advertisement, and I'll choose a color that's very different from all the others, so maybe like a dark shade of purple. And if I do something like that, then I can really make a particular part of my chart really stand out as I show this stuff in my dashboards. And I also want to call out that as you kind of go from chart to chart, these conditional formatting rules will move with you. So the idea is we've got this in a bar chart, but I can easily switch over to a different chart. And you can see now we also have a reorganized panel for charts. So before it was basically this alphabetical list. We've now organized it by form and function. So you kind of know the best charts for certain types of visualizations. If I wanted to switch to a scatter chart, you can see that advertisement is still purple. To a heat map, you can see that the purple stays as I go from chart to chart. I think that's a very powerful feature as you're kind of creating these rich sets of charts. Now, moving on to tables, you can do the same thing here. I've got the very similar query, but displayed as a table. If I wanted to format a particular column for this table, I choose the column I like, perhaps it's the sum of amount, and I format the column. Now I've got this conditional formatting section. I can add a rule. Very similar UI to what we saw before in charts. In this particular case, let's make it interesting. I want to highlight the opportunity that I have at risk. And the opportunities that are at risk are those that are very, very old. So what I like to do is when I'm conditionally formatting my revenue numbers, I want it to be based off of a different category, average of opportunity age. So I'll make my reference column the average of opportunity age, specify a range, maybe anything that's older than 500 years should be highlighted in red. So if I do something like this, then I can immediately make certain cells, make certain columns or rows of my table stand out based on specific logic that I've actually created. These are simple point-and-click exercises on how you can create simple conditional formatting rules. If you needed to leverage more powerful rules that might span across the multiple fields, you can still do that using the custom SACL and then leverage this UI as you apply formatting to your tables or your charts. What I'd like to show next is just a quick demo on Pages. So as you know, Pages has been in beta for the last couple of releases, and they are a powerful way of being able to better organize your dashboards, better make them performant, and even to use some special effects like hide and show. And with this release, they are officially GA. So we've scaled now to be able to support up to 20 pages. You can see this is an example of a dashboard that has 3 pages. And most importantly, recognizing the fact that you may want to fully take advantage of these 20 pages, we created an out-of-box navigation widget for you. So the idea is that as you create multiple pages for your dashboards, you have the ability to now drag and drop this navigation widget and have it automatically populate with all the pages of your dashboard. Here, I just have a 3-page dashboard, but it's good to illustrate the types of stylings that you can have for your navigation widget. So the idea is I can separately style how I want the selected tab to look. So if I wanted a border to the top and bottom and make the borders a little bit thicker, I have the full flexibility to be able to do that. Let me make the border color just a little bit thicker here. And you can see how now with this customized navigation widget, as I navigate from page to page, I can now show you very clearly what page I'm actually on. And while I'm here, what I also like to point out is the enhancements that we've made to some of our date filtering capabilities. So this cuts across both the global date filter that you see here, as well as the individual date navigation widgets. And as you know, with the global date filter, you always had the ability to choose from a set of predefined date range shortcuts. This has now been added to the individual date widgets. But more importantly, both these types of filtering now also support the fully custom way of being able to define a date filter using absolute dates or using relative dates. And we think that that's going to give immense flexibility whether you're creating global level filters or chart-specific filters for your dashboards. Now, the last thing that I would like to show is, again, the best feature no one's probably ever heard of. And this is if you wanted to do customizations, formatting customizations, coloring or labeling customizations, and you want to define at the dataset level so that all dashboards can leverage the work that you've done. Before, you had to go into an XMD file for the dataset and define those options there. And what I like to show you is a much better way to do this directly in the Studio UI. So if you are, as I was, exploring this dataset here, anybody with the ETL perm will see a fields link here that gives you the ability to not only see all of the names and labels of the columns in your dataset, but you have the ability to do all of the dataset level customizations that you wanted to do in terms of formatting or in terms of coloring. So you always had the ability to rename a particular account name. You always had the ability to declare new derived columns and derived measures. So here's a measure section, here's a derived measure section. So these are all ways for you to be able to define types of customizations. What we were missing before, though, was the ability to do dimension value label customization. So the idea here is that if I had, like for instance, an account source, what I could do now is I could edit the values for this particular field in the data set. So the system is telling me that, yes, this particular value, account source, has this many fields. But if I wanted to, for instance, shorten some of these names, so maybe I just want to change advertisement to something called ads, then what I could do is make that here, and this customization would now appear wherever advertisement is shown in all of my dashboards. And again, similar to what we just did when we were exploring charts, if I wanted this particular value to have a different color, I could choose a different color here and really make ads pop when I see it in a table or see it in a chart. And finally, those of you who are familiar with the exploration tool, you know that whenever you switch to a values table, a raw data table layout, you get a pretty random assortment of columns when you first see that table. And what we've given the admin the ability to do here is to choose for this data set, whenever you go to that raw data table, which default fields you want to present the user. So they're not having to sift through tens of fields trying to figure out the right ones. You can give them the right set of defaults, and then they can tweak manually which couple ones they want to add or remove. And we think this is a very great feature for admins. This has been a feature, multiple releases in the works, and we finally think that we've got the full set of capabilities now. Whatever you've wanted to do from a dataset customization level, you can now do through the UI. I know many of our admins have been using a Wave Labs dataset editor. I don't think you need to use that anymore. So we've actually officially end-of-life that feature because we think everything, all the power you need is within this product here. And so very excited to see that in action along with the customization UI.
Great, thank you, Danny. One quick question. If I'm, this is on conditional formatting, if I've been using Sackle to programmatically build my visualizations, am I still able to leverage that conditional formatting?
That's a great question. Yeah, and I think you're kind of touching on the point to where a lot of our power users, they understand the dashboard well enough to where they actually can go into the code and do some specific customizations to understand how the feature is configured and to kind of push the boundaries of that product. And while that's been true for a lot of our features, we feel right now that it's better to make sure that the full power of dashboard design should always be available in the UI. So when you go into your dashboard JSON after you define some conditional formatting, what you're going to realize is none of that logic is actually in the dashboard JSON. We've kind of tucked it away in a separate file. It's called an asset XMD or the dataset XMD. Again, something that can be fully managed via the UI. Whatever you do in the conditional formatting UI will automatically update that asset XMD for you. And the reason we're doing this is because we think that conditional formatting is the beginning of a really rich set of dashboard-specific features. You can think of locales or multi-currency or localization, something that you want multiple copies of for multiple locales for a particular data set. Conditional formatting is just the beginning of that, and we think that that will be the right place for lots of those types of customizations to live.
Okay, great. Well, speaking of Sackle, let's talk about data. What do you have, Justin?
Awesome. Thanks, Danny. I love the demo you showed of the conditional formatting. I think that's going to be a huge advantage. But I want to jump over into the slides. So I want to talk about the data manager. There's a couple of things I want to highlight. Before I highlight that, I want to give a little overview on the data manager for those of you who aren't familiar. The data manager is a great place to manage your data and to do complex transformations and to integrate all of your data into the same spot. As a team, we want to be able to provide a set of solutions that are smart and that are easy to use so that you can prep your data and also integrate them. When you have a bunch of data, it's complex. There's a lot you can do. Data are in different systems, and so we want to make that complex solution. So we want to make that complex idea something easy with the data manager. Some of the highlights we have in Summer 18 are smart data prep. We're building upon that. We're including multi-select fields, which is a very cool feature because now you're able to select multiple fields in the data prep to do things like KPI calculations at the data manager level rather than at the dashboard level. So for example, if you have some sort of KPI that you usually calculate over and over in the dashboards, instead of doing that in multiple places, you can do that once at the data manager level. We also have Append, which I'm going to show a demo of a little later. And we have auto buckets, which is an amazing feature that automatically goes through values in your data and groups similar values together. So you have buckets automatically created for you. Another big feature that we have is actually increasing limits. This is something that's been asked for from a lot of our customers, and we've actually bumped up the limits. I'll go into the specifics there. And then finally, around connectors. We've added much more connectors in this past release, and we've also added some more scheduling around that. Speaking of connectors, we've had a lot of connectors come in the past few releases, and we're going to continue to add more. In the past, you saw like the Org connector, the Google BigQuery. But in this release, we brought in SAP HANA in AWS to bring in some of your enterprise data use cases. We brought in connectors like Marketo and Google Analytics so that you can bring in marketing data for your marketing use cases. So we've unlocked a lot of new use cases with these new connectors in Summer 18. In Winter 19, we're going to bring in some more connectors, specifically around file stores like Dropbox, S3, and Box. So I talked about the limit increases earlier, so here's the limit increases in more detail. I'm going to start with the file uploads. And so in the previous release, we had 50 file uploads per org. That was a pretty good number, but in Summer 18, we've actually increased that number, not on per org, but per data set. And so now you can actually upload as many data sets as you want, and for each data set, the limit is 50. The next limit we increased was the number of user data flows. Starting from winter, we moved that from 24, and then we moved it up to 30. And we're going to continue that in Summer 18, we're moving that to 40. And so now you're able to run more data flows and more recipes. Finally, the last limit we increased was the number of replicated objects. We're actually doubling that from 50 replicated objects to 100. Now I'm going to jump over into a demo. I'm going to go into Data Manager here. And in the setup page, you see a bunch of your connectors that you have set up. And so in this org, I have my local connectors. I have Microsoft Dynamics. I have several of them. In past releases, you're actually only able to set one schedule for all of these connectors. And so if you wanted to, you had to run all of your Dynamics, your BigQuery, your Web Analytics at the same frequency. But in this release, you're actually able to set individual schedules for each connector. So now I could set my SFDC local on a certain schedule, maybe on an hourly schedule. But for my Microsoft Dynamics, maybe I want to schedule that at a monthly schedule or a weekly schedule. So I can set that here. And now I'm able to customize each schedule for each connector. The second feature I want to demo is around the data prep functionality and how we can now do appends in data prep. And so I'm going to create a new recipe here. I'm going to call it append. And I have this data set that I want to start trending over time, perhaps. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to append data to it. And now we automatically match up the categories from those two data sets so that they match up with each other. And so we do this automatically by reading through your data. But perhaps you had one field that was incorrectly matched up or that you don't want to match up or that doesn't have any fields to match up with. You can actually, that's OK. You can actually keep it like that. You don't have to fill in that data or fill it with dummy data. You can leave it as is, and we'll actually fill it with null values for you. So now you can do disjoint appends. So I'm going to continue with that. And now I can see that this append function is not going to happen. And so when I create this data set, or sorry, when I publish this recipe, it'll ask me if I can schedule it, or if I want to schedule it or run it one time. I can actually schedule it over time so that it can then trend over time. So you can build data sets over time and have interesting findings across time. So that was the append functionality. I want to jump back over quickly into the slides. And I want to talk about Einstein Analytics encryption. And so this is a little bit separate from the data manager piece. You're not going to find it there. You're actually going to find this in the setup page. But I want to talk about this because we know security is very important for our customers. Trust is very important to us as well. So we have the capability to encrypt Einstein Analytics data sets while maintaining full functionality of your product. So that means your data can be secure while still being able to do all the same group bys, all the same aggregations, all the same sorting. So there's no loss in functionality while your data is more secure. We also have key management built in, so you can rotate, revoke, import, bring your own key. And the best part about all this is that you can do it very easily with one click. It's a one-click setup that's very easy to do, and you can find that in the setup page. You can see that screenshot on the right. And yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. All right. So a quick question on the encryption. Are there any quick question on that. Obviously, we're tired. So Justin, are there any prerequisites to use encryption with Einstein Analytics?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, you need Einstein Analytics platform, but you also need Shield platform encryption. And so that's a lot of our customers already have Shield platform encryption. And so that's something we actually use because we leverage some of the same key management technology there. And so the two requirements, again, are EA platform and Shield platform encryption.
And if you have something encrypted already using Shield and you push it into Einstein Analytics, is that preserved? And
yes, so we'll actually re-encrypt it using our key and re-encrypt everything that's brought into Einstein Analytics as a data set.
That's very clean and secure.
And secure.
Thank you, Justin. So next up is Jonathan.
All right, I'm pumped about that data prep. Discovery loves data, and actually, great setup for one of the features that we're actually piloting right now. But before we get into that, why don't I take a step back here and follow up on a feature we were piloting from our last release readiness discussion. We were talking about piloting Write-Back native within Salesforce. And very happy to say we were able to advance a couple of the key features of that pilot into GA for summer this year. So we now have the Einstein Discovery models residing within Salesforce, which is great. That makes it so we are real-time with providing recommendations, predictions, writing context right within Salesforce. We're currently still deploying that with a managed package. However, we do still have in pilot, still working on developing the no-code click to deploy, also being able to handle routing for multiple models. So say if you want different models for different regions or different product lines. And then ultimately, we're also going to have a standard Lightning component available in a future state where you don't even have to create custom objects or any of that. Just be able to take a standard Lightning component out of the box, drop it into your object page, and get those predictions and recommendations right there in context. So still working on that piece. But back to a lot of these great developments that we're seeing within analytics, it would be really great if we could just use discovery right within context, right within analytics, be able to tap into all of these data connectors, be able to create stories right off of those augmented data sets and all the great stuff that's going on there. That's exactly what we're working on right now. We have in pilot discovery in analytics where the discovery functionality is embedded right within the Einstein Analytics, just right alongside everything else, your data sets, your lenses, your dashboards. And that's going to bring us quite a bit of functionality in that we can tap into all of the great stuff that's already there within analytics, but also helps extend out some of our functionality where having customers in different regions. We're now going to be everywhere that Salesforce is because Discovery is going to be running on the Salesforce architecture. And while we're doing this, we're taking it as a chance to incorporate a lot of the great feedback we've gotten from customers on improving our story navigation and really upping the game and making these stories in Discovery even more accessible. So words don't do it justice. Let's actually cut over to a demo here and show you what we're piloting right now. All right, so I'm here. I am over in analytics, and I have some of these great analytics data sets. And through my dropdown here, I have create story, right in context. And with this, I can go in and I can ask my question, how do I maximize revenue with my customer base? And then as well, I can go through and take a look at some of my different fields. In this case, there's only one level for stage name. So I'm going to go and enter that or exclude that data. And then for gender as well, I'm going to exclude that from my analysis. And then we're ready to review. So here we're going through giving you line of sight into the selections you've made. So before you kick off that story, you get a last chance to say, oh, I forgot to edit out this, or I meant to make a change in this area. So that last check before we're kicking off the story. And then once we jump into the story here, let me open that up. We have a lot of new functionality going on here, really tapping into that functionality, the user experience within analytics using analytics charts, but also taking our natural language and descriptions of what's going on and make it so you can explore right within context. So here I see a chart relating to state, and we have all of the descriptions that we're used to within Discovery. But if I want to figure out a little bit more about what's going on with state, I can just click that link directly here and be able to surface additional insights, see what's going on. If I want to look at additional insights, what's really powerful here as well, by using the analytics charts, these are actually real previews of the charts. And you can see Discovery, as you're scrolling down, you get to charts that have less and less signal. You can actually see that occur where the statistically significant insights that were previously highlighted in blue, now as we get into these lighter signals, they start to fade out. So you can actually visually see what's going on behind this card before you ever have to click into it, making it much faster to go through and find the insights that are relevant to you. And additionally, we do have the core functionality, so you can even break down why it happened, waterfalls, the details behind what's going on. Again, we get these previews, and when we want to see what's actually going on in full detail, we can click in, surface this, and again, we have additional jump-offs where we can continue to navigate naturally, as opposed to going back and putting in search terms. You just are able to click your way through your story insights. We have some additional functionality that we're working to make this even more intuitive as we move to GA, but we'll have to save that for the next release readiness. And again, spoke to the predictions being deployed and how that's still being piloted here. Just want to touch on that for those of you who didn't happen to be able to catch the last video and what we were doing here. So what this enables is once you have a prediction model that you're ready to deploy, you can go in, you can select the object that you want to deploy to. Again, if you want to provide some segmentation, you can go in here and just allows you to select the areas where you want to window your prediction model to just focus on Europe. And then you can go through, develop a new model for, say, the Americas, deploy that here. And once you've gone through, you can select what's actionable. So this makes it far more intuitive. You can say we can schedule a meeting, we can offer a promotion. Those are things that we can do. It tends to be more difficult to move your customers from one state or another, so that would not be a great thing to select here for actionable variables. And then once you've done that, you're ready to review and deploy the story. So this is really where we're going with Discovery, integrating it tightly so we can use the best functionality of analytics and Discovery together and really get the most out of the analytics platform, be that one-stop end-to-end solution for all of our customers' analytics needs.
Wow, that was fantastic. I mean, it's really great how every bit feeds on top of another, from starting with the template, to pulling all your data sets together, making your visualizations, all the way down to, hey, I want to predict what's going to happen in the future and make sure that all of my employees can leverage that. So that's really awesome. Question on Einstein Discovery, though. What do users have to do to be able to try those features out? Is there something they need to do?
Yeah, so reach out, existing Discovery customers, reach out to your contacts over at Salesforce, and we are putting people on lists to get into the pilot. And also, we've been working with some customers already who, due to different data restrictions and so forth, particularly within the European Union, obviously lots of sensitivity on where the servers are for the data. Looking at bringing in some pilot customers on that as well. And if all goes according to plan, we are hoping to have the GA version of Einstein Discovery in Analytics ready for our winter release.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, all of our product managers, for joining us today. And thank you to all of our trailblazers out there who have been leveraging the power of Einstein Analytics since way back in the day. Y'all know who y'all are. And we hope you enjoyed this. Please try these features out. We can't wait to see what you build. And don't forget to join us right back here for the next release in winter, because we'll have more great features to share. Thank you and have a great day.